Hey guys, welcome to Mike's Trains, and thanks for joining me for this next video. In this video here, I mean, it's been, since December 11th since I've put out a video. Took some time to be with the family and enjoy the holidays and do everything that I need to do. But we're back, and, you know, I just wanted to, I thought I'd take the time in this video to answer a few questions that have come as comments on the past videos that I've done, and so let's jump right into this. Someone asked if I grew up in the Cleveland, Ohio area because of the Higbee's store. No, I did not. I'm born and bred in New England, and that's where I've been my whole life. I've never even been there. The Higbee's came from, I just liked the Christmas Story movie. Let's see, so the next question, somebody was talking about the availability of late model cars for your layout if you're doing N scale, and HO scale for that matter. There's more available for HO than there is N scale, but if you're determined enough and you're not too worried about things, about money and things like that, and most people are, so like me, I was buying them originally from a place called Shapeways.com. And they have pretty much any model year car, or almost any car you could probably want or be looking for. So it's Shapeways.com, which brings me to the next thing. For the Christmas holidays, you know, my kids got together and they bought me something for Christmas that I wasn't expecting. They bought me a 3D printer, which just blew me away. And you can probably hear it running in the background now. That's the fan sound, and you can hear the whirring of the machine going. It's a 3D resin printer, and that's what I've been tying up all my time with from Christmas until right now. Trying to learn how to do things, how to use it, and get what I want to do. And I've been able to print a whole bunch of things with this printer. One of the things being is the 3D is the cars. I've actually printed about 30 or 40 of them, and they're all late models. I was able to find files to be able to print. I've got some what are they? Like Crown Victoria type cars. I've got one of the new. I found a pattern for one of the new Volkswagen Beetles. I found, you know, some import cars. So, you know, in all of that, I was able to find these, and all of these files were free to get. I'm not going to do videos on this because I am nowhere near any kind of an expert or an authority to even want to be talking about how to do things with it. But I will show you what I have done, and you know, we'll get into that a little bit more. Let's see what else. The size of the LEDs on the lighted mall sign. I did the video series on how to make a lighted sign, and somebody asked what size of the LEDs I used, and more specifically, they're called SMDs. They're surface mounted LEDs. I'm not sure. I didn't go back and look, but I think if you look under the video, below the video, where the description is on YouTube. I generally try to put a link to everything I'm using in the video. If the link isn't there, then yeah, I probably forgot. It happens. But those are number 603 warm white SMDs, and they're pre-wired. So I don't have to solder to the LED itself because they're so small. I don't want to deal with that. So they have the wires already on there, and I just go from there. But just on the simple chance that the link might be there, check on the video you were looking at. If you were asking about the size of the LEDs I used, see if there's a link there. It'll take you right to where I bought them from. Most of the stuff I buy, I'd say 98% of everything I buy for my videos comes from Amazon. They have everything so far that I've been looking for. So. And if it's not under the video, please by all means ask. I'll throw you a link as to where I got it. Somebody had just recently asked where I got the parking lot lights for the strip mall, and I threw back a link to it as to where I got them. And I think I had put a link in previous videos as to where I got those from. But I don't do it for all of them, I guess. I don't know. Especially if I'm doing a tour, I'm not putting links to anything. But if you happen to catch it in the thing. Those came from Amazon as well. Just do a search for, I did a search for N-scale street lights. And these are ones I found. It was a set of 10. And I believe they're right now for $5.99 for 10 of them. It's fairly cheap. I don't like buying the expensive ones because I just don't think they're worth the money. I can do much more with the cheaper ones, and I can get for 2 or 3 times the amount of the expensive ones for the same money. So I go with the cheaper ones, and we'll work on those to make them look better. So anyway, those are the few questions I had for right here. The other ones that I have are going to require going down to the layout. But before we do that, I thought I'd give you a look at the 3D printer that I have running and what I've done. I have up here waiting to be painted to give you an idea as to what I'm able to do with it. Okay, so that's my 3D printer right there. That's what they bought me. It's very small. I can't print big things on it, but the idea from both my kids was that, a lot of the stuff I was buying from Shapeways, and my son, just kind of said, well, why would we continue buying from Shapeways? Why don't we just get him the 3D printer, and then he can make his own, and we don't have to buy them anymore. So that's what they did. So what they bought me was this machine right here. And this is the actual 3D printer, and you can see it running, and then there's a table right here, and you can see it kind of moving a little bit. The green is moving up and down, and that's going into a resin vat that's down below. We can open it up right here. You can see the resin vat right there. And then of course the screen right here is showing what I'm printing. This is going to be something I'm making for my daughter. It's actually going to be, I believe, it's a baby Yoda from the Mandalorian series. So I'm printing her one of those. It's a little statue. It's going to be about 4 or 5 inches tall. So that's going to be another, according to my screen here, is telling me I got another 5 hours to go on this print. And then this right here I bought myself after Christmas. This is a wash and cure. It's by the same company that makes the printer, and what it does is this container inside here is filled with 91% alcohol, and when the print is done, I'll take the whole print table out of here, and I'll drop it into this container and turn it on, and it agitates the water and it washes off the old the resin from the printing, and it cleans it all up. And then I'll take it out and do whatever else I need to it. And then when we take out the washing tub, there's a curing station back there, and I'll set it in there on a turntable and put the cover back on, and it'll hit it with UV lights, and I'll set it in there for 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is that I need, and it'll turn it in the UV light and cure the remainder of the resin. So it's nice and hard and cured and done and ready for paint. So that was my Christmas, and this is where I've been spending a lot of my time. I love this thing. I don't know what else to say, but I love it. Let me show you what I've done with the in regards to the vehicles that are going on the layout. Okay, so these are some of the cars I printed. There are 3 different types of cars here. So this is a Woodland Scenics police car, and I use this as a control for size on these other vehicles. And you can see the size is actually pretty good. If I put it next to any of these, all right, and then we have a van. And these are all 3D printed off that machine, and I think it's doing a really good job. At this point, all of these need is some paint. Right? These are straight off the printer, they've been cured, and that's as far as I've gone with them. So we have an old, looks like an old Camaro. It was labeled as a 60s car, right? So you take it for what it is, and then this is what it actually is. This, they just call it an SUV. It's nothing specific, but to me it looks like an old, one of the earlier model Explorers, maybe from late 90s, early 2000s, maybe. Might even be newer. Now, I have had some issues, little issues that I'm not too concerned with. Like this one right here, you can see it's missing half of a front wheel. I'm not too concerned with it because when I put it on the layout, all I have to do is flip it around this way and everything is there and it's all good, right? And these are some late model vans. Now I've also printed, I told you, some Crown Victorias. I printed one of I have the new Volkswagen Beetles. I have what looks like a Nissan or a Toyota, like a compact type car. So I have 6 different models of cars that I printed. This is half of them, and I have the other half already painted and on the layout. So so that's what I've been kind of tied up into doing, and everything kind of took a back seat to that when this showed up. What I have still to do on the city scene, I have these guys here, which are the street signs that go on the poles. I have a whole bunch of these. I've already added the signs to, the speed limit signs, traffic signs, things like that. I've already added those into the layout. I finished some other stuff. Then Christmas came and this showed up, and that's kind of when everything stopped and I started focusing on the printing to get all these vehicles onto the layout, because I agree with the person that was talking about finding cars that go with your era of modeling. I'm modeling more the modern era. I figure in my modeling I'm going up to probably the year 2000 is my cutoff, right? So anything before that is fair game. So I feel like these fall into that. Now, yeah, this is a lot of old 60s. I think they look like Camaros, maybe Firebirds. I don't know. It's hard to say. But they fall into that range. Yeah, it's a lot of them. So I'll print 1 or 2 that'll be, pristine and really nice. And then I'll print some more. I'll paint some other ones that are kind of rusted out and not so nice, And it'll make them look like totally different cars. And I've done that before. I had some 69 Mustangs that my wife had bought me in years past, where I did the same thing. One was printed pristine and really nice, and then I made the other one look like it was in the restoration process. It had different color fenders, it had rust, it had things like that on it. So that's the idea with these guys. And then these guys all just painted different colors and painted a little bit differently. I'm going to take you downstairs and we'll look at that. You can see what I'm talking about a little bit more. So anyway, back to the question. So what I want to show downstairs, someone wanted to know how I patched the holes where the parking lights were removed. Yeah, we're going to go down and look at that, and I'll show you exactly what I did. And then what else can I show you down there? Someone wanted to see the underneath of the layout. They wanted to see the distribution blocks and all that kind of stuff and how the wires come in. Now, I'm going to show you that, but keep in mind, I am not the neatest for wiring. I'm not good at this stuff as far as managing the wires and all that. So it looks like a huge mess. I will say that going in. I know this. Nobody needs to tell me. I already know. I'm well aware. So, we'll leave that go at that, but I will give you a look at underneath the layout. Someone else wanted to see the traffic lights working, so we'll take a look at that as well. So why don't we head down there and we'll take a look at all that stuff going on. All right, so here we are downstairs, and let's start with the patches to the parking lot where I removed the parking lot lights from the parking lot. Before we zoom into that, I just wanted to show you these areas now are done. See, I came back, I finished all of this. This road now goes all the way around the layout behind the building. You can also see some of the cars that I painted, that I printed. That's the Volkswagen right there. There's a taxi right there. Let's see, what else do we have in here? They're kind of sprinkled in and around. There's another Volkswagen right here. This is a Crown Victoria. So all that is a taxi that I cut the taxi light off the roof and sanded that smooth, and that gave me another car. Here's another type of car here. You got another one down here. So they're sprinkled in. There's some down in the back. Let's see. So you can see them here and there. You got that one down in there. So anyway, that's how they are. And then I've also added a bus down in the front here. Now that one I did not print. This one came from Shapeways. So like I said, if you're looking for things that you can't find in the stores that are commercially made, Shapeways.com is an awesome place to go to find some of these things that you might be looking for. They have a lot of that. It's not the cheapest in the world, but they do have it if you want to get it. Okay. So anyway, back to the parking lot. Now you'll also notice that I added the columns to the front of the shopping mall, these columns that go around. Originally I was just going to do poles and just call it done at that, but I don't know. I kind of had the idea that I wanted to add a little more than just that. So I ended up adding that, and of course all the figures are in there. But anyway, back to why we're here. Let me move the camera in a little bit, and we'll get a closer look at the repair points. So there's one right there. All right. Get some focus here. So this is one of the holes right here. Okay. And then there's another one right between the cars right here. And then there's a third one right here. And all I did for those, and I really didn't feel it was necessary to try and patch it and repaint it and do the whole thing and make it look invisible. What I did was I took a little bit of spackle, a very small amount, and I crammed it down in the hole, and I just spread it out. And I actually wanted it to be a little raised. And then I mixed up some gray paint that was just a little bit darker than this gray. So it's a fresher repair than the rest of the pavement, because you know, a repair isn't going to be the same color. So that's what I did, and I just did it in an irregular shape. And then you can see I did another one back here where there is no hole, just to bring that through and show that there's a little more. And then I stuck another one down in the back up here. I don't know how well that shows, if it shows at all from our point of view here. But that's what I did with the parking lot patches, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna change it any more or any further. We're just gonna leave it like that, and we'll call it a day. Let me turn on the lights here, and you can kind of see. I don't know what shows up in there, if anything. Nah, nothing really changed. You see the parking lot lights came on. Another one of the things that I was able to find a pattern for to 3D print was this thing right here. That is a soda machine that I found a pattern for, and I just painted it a little crazy. I didn't want to do anything specific, but I wanted to add something in there. Let's see, what else have I done? Okay, so let's go look at something else. Now, another person I mentioned in the comments wanted to see the working traffic lights. So if we take the camera and we turn it this way, and we can look up the road, there's the green lights that are there. Here we go. So you see the green working traffic light right there. They don't change colors, just an FYI, they don't change colors. I didn't feel the need to do that because it is a static display, right? Nothing in here moves, so there's really no reason for the lights to change from red to green and yellow and all that. There's no purpose for it because the traffic isn't going to change. The cars are static, nothing moves. So my thoughts on this are the fact that you're kind of looking at a snapshot in time. So I'm treating it as such. So, you know, at the point when this was done, you know, these lights were green and the others were red. And that's how it works. And I think it works just fine. I don't think these things need to change. Let's see, what else can I show you? Over here, now we have, again, this green car was a 3D printed. This right here is a small quad that I printed. Let me see if I can get this a little bit closer. Right here. There we go. That's as close as I can zoom from where I'm at, right there. That's a little quad that I printed. I printed 6 of these. And I have 1 on the layout. I have 5 more upstairs that I put away. But I thought that was kind of cool. Just kind of a, can I do it kind of thing. And turns out I can. So this gives me great confidence in being able to do more things. Okay, so I'm going to stick that back over here. And then what I'll do eventually, maybe, I don't know, I'm kind of over all this right now. I don't really want to do a bunch more with it. I do have some finishing things I want to do that I never got to yet. For instance, over here, on this side here, I want to add some trees, things like that right here in the mall. In the shopping plaza. Maybe some shrubbery down up in here kind of thing. I haven't gotten down here to do that yet. I've also added some road signs. Now these I made myself. There's one right there. That one is for bus stop and it says no parking right here. So what I'd like to do, and I haven't done it yet, is I want to put some figures right here waiting for this bus to be coming down. Let me move this over to the city side and we'll take another look at that. Okay, so this part of the city here, I've also tackled a bit on. We have the added figures here, added the street signs in here and all. And you can see again the working traffic lights, and of course these are red, and our cars are flowing from the green light that's back here, you know, through the intersection. And you can see some of the new 3D printed cars. There's one here, there's another Volkswagen here, there's another one here. You know, they kind of show up in here in different places. Now, keep in mind, I still have the ones I showed you upstairs to add to this. So for every one of those I add, I remove one of these. All right. Now, I still have details to add to this. I made street signs to go on these poles here. So these streets will be labeled with street signs that are going to go on the poles. The other thing I wanted to address is this area right here. I had originally, you know, we talked about adding a car wash right here. And I started doing some measuring and looking at the building and what I need in order to make this building work. And there's really not going to be enough room to add that building properly. I just can't do it. It's not going to fit. So while I'm still going to build the car wash building with the working brushes and stuff, I can't put it here. So it's just not going to work. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take this grassy part right here and I'm going to bring this straight back. And then this will be the entrance to supposedly another parking lot down off the layout. And that's what's going to happen here because there's just not enough room. I don't want to add anything too tall here. And that's not so much my concern as having enough space to add it in here. And the building, car wash building, would be probably close to the size of this because I need to house the motor that's going to run the brushes. And that's the other issue, is that in order to make that work and look right within the city, the part that houses the motor would have been on this side, and you wouldn't be able to see the moving brushes because I want to do windows all down the opposite side so that you can see inside to the car wash. And it's just situated in a way where it's just not going to work. So like I said, I'm going to extend this straight back and we're going to make this parking lot. And that's going to be the end of that. I really can't. It's too much to have to try and squeeze into a small space. And for the amount of work that's involved with building that, I want to make sure that I can see it. I want to be able to see it and know what's going on in there. So that's the way that's going to go. And the car wash will show up elsewhere, guaranteed 100%, just not here. I do have another spot I have in mind for it that I'm kind of playing with, but we'll talk about that at a later time. Let me move the camera over this way and I'll show you some of the other new additions. We have over here, you can see there's another bus, and I also got one of those bus stops. My wife got it for me from Shapeways. There's the little bus stop over there, but there seems to be a light pole in the way. There we go. So you can kind of see that little bus shelter right there, and another bus, and lots of figures going on, all in the crosswalks as I had talked about. Now down here in front of this parking garage, let me move you in a way where you can see this, because I have a plan for this, and I may show how I'm going to do this. I don't know. Okay, so what I'm talking about now is this space right here beside the parking garage, right here. Okay, so what that sign says there, and there's a little bit of dust I need to vacuum out of there, but what that says in there is it says emergency vehicles only, no parking. And they have another sign that's going to go right beside that. But there's no markings on the pavement for that. Now I'm going to hand paint the markings for that. And I was just going to do it, but then I started thinking that maybe it might be a good thing. Maybe somebody might like to see how I would do the lines by hand. So what that's going to be, this is going to be a white line that goes this way, another white line that comes down here to meet it, and then we're going to do the diagonal lines right across that whole thing. And that's going to leave out this space, and then what I may do is put a police vehicle in there or something like that, ambulance type thing, I don't know, some type of vehicle like that in that spot to fill in that space. And I may or may not, I don't know. I was thinking about doing a video to hand line if you want to know how to do those things by hand. I've done some of the other lines on my layout here by hand with a paintbrush, and there's a way to do that you can get it done, and it looks fairly decent. So I don't know, if you want to see it, let me know. If you really don't care, then I'm fine with that too, because it's just as easy for me to come down here and do it than to have to set up cameras and all. So Anyway, so that's the things that I've had questions on that people were interested in seeing. Had let me know. Now the last thing that somebody wanted to see was the underneath and all my wiring. So let me change my camera setup here and we'll take a peek under there. Alright, now as I explained, I am not a wiring genius, okay? I know how to hook up wires, I know what I need for voltages, and it's all very easy to do. But this is my rat's nest underneath the layout, and I do apologize. It's hard to see anything in here. But what you do have here is this block over here. Let's see, do I have something I can, yeah. So you have this block right here. This is for 12 volt power. Everything that plugs into this is receiving 12 volts straight up, okay? Then they have a second block right here. Everything going into this block is receiving 5 volts. Okay, and the reason for the two different voltages is that everything on my layout right now, well, most everything runs on 12 volts. All my LEDs, everything like that, it's all 12 volt. Okay, and I set that up by design just to make it easier to be able to light things and do other things with it. Now, what I do the only other thing I have, if you look down over here, this lighted thing right there, you can see it right in the back right there. Now the big white long block, that's for the overhead lights that light up the top of my layout. Those are RGB lights, so I can change the colors and the brightness and all that. That's the power supply for those. That plugs straight into the wall. But right next to it, you'll see a small clear box right there. That's my Arduino board. Now, I showed you that in previous videos when I did the Higbee store. That's where that mounted, and then all the lights, all the wiring from the Higbees just plug into that. It's just straight plug-ins, and then that runs on 9 volts. And you'll see these things right here. There's 2 of them. One of them goes to the Arduino circuit board, and that runs at 9 volts. So what that is, it's a transformer that it just transforms 12 volts to 9 volts. All right, and then I have a second one that runs on the top here, runs over to this one, and it transformed 12 volts to 5 volts. And that's how I do that. And both of those two things plug into that block right there. So they both get their power off that 12 volt block, and they divide off. So the bottom one goes to the Arduino way over there, and then the 5 volt one goes to this block over here. Goes to that block right there. And then this big heavy white wire that you see right here, that's my main power into that 12 volt block. And I realize it's very heavy wire. It's 14 gauge. I had it left over from wiring projects in the house. So I decided, I figured I'd just use it on this. It works fine. And that's what I'm using. But you can see everything underneath there. I'm not lying when I say it's a mess. It's a truly huge mess. But that's how my stuff's working down here. You know, I've seen other people's underneath of their layout, and everything is so beautiful. The wires are nicely run and everything's neat and clean. Well, I don't know how to do that, and I'm not particularly willing to want to sit down here for the amount of time it takes working over my head to work all that out. So that's how that looks. What I will do later, once all this wiring is in, there's a few more wires hanging, like this one. There's a couple of them, like these 2 right here. I had to replace one of the street lights, or 2 of the street lights that weren't working. And I ran them down from the top, and the wires are just hanging here because, well, when I got done wiring this originally, my back, I don't know about you guys, I'm not exactly a young guy. I'm not very old either. I'm in my 50s, and you know, crawling around underneath here really messes with me these days. It's not like it used to be when I was 20. So I have to pick and choose when I can come down here and do this, and I have to be prepared for it because it takes me a while. I really don't like doing this stuff, so I avoid it whenever possible. So yeah, that's my mess. So let's go back on top for a minute. All right, so back on top here, I just wanted to point in a couple other things that I've been able to print. One of them was right in the back here. There's a dumpster right here. Let me pull this a little bit closer and you can see it. I printed a whole bunch of these, and I think they look pretty good. The covers are separate from the dumpster, so I can leave them in an open position or closed, and there's 2 covers per dumpster, and I love these things. I'm gonna print some more. I'm gonna paint some more. I have 5 more upstairs, because everything I print, I don't print one. I'll print however many I can fit on my print table. So the dumpsters, everything seems to go in quantities of 6 is what I've been doing. So I have this dumpster. I stuck right there. I think that looks pretty good. This truck parked on the side. Now the other thing I have in here is these Jersey barriers I made, which are also pretty awesome, right? I printed all of these. I printed like 30 of those at one time. And I didn't know I was originally going to put a fence back here, but I don't know. I kind of like the Jersey barrier thing. I think that looks pretty good. Oh, one other thing I want to show you real quick before we sign off for the day. Right here, these I'm particularly proud of. I made ice machines. That was one of my first prints, and I think that is like the greatest thing ever. Little tiny ice machines. So yeah, so that's the whole thing, guys. That's pretty much all I got. Again, don't be afraid to ask the questions. I will do my best to answer them anytime I can. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a long time since my last video. I believe it was December 11. It's been almost 2 months now. So it's time to get back on here. We'll start with a new project probably next week. And that's it. That's all I got for this week. If you're just finding me, you liked what you saw, please, by all means, subscribe to my channel. Love to have you along. Always good to have new people following. If you haven't already visited my website, it's mikestrains.wordpress.com. I know I promised pictures to go up there when I put out my last video, the tour of the layout, and well, I kind of failed on that too. I'm sorry about that. Like I said, things got real crazy around here, so I hadn't had a chance to do anything. I started working on this, and then Christmas came, and well, you know how it goes. So anyway, I'm going to say it again. That's it for this week. So until next time, happy modeling.